Senator Francis Heyliger.
Good. Is it on?
Senator Francis Heyliger, mic, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon to my colleagues, to the testifiers, to the people of the territory. As a resident of this territory, we all know how important our hospitals are. And given any opportunity to really speak to you, to dive into the pluses and the minuses of running the hospital here in this specific district is an opportunity I intend to tap into. Earlier you spoke about over $1 million plus judgment that potentially might have to get amended into giving you if someone sees fit. How often does the hospital get sued, and do you guys do an analysis as to what types of lawsuits are being done and what kind of safety measures or specifically targeted issues that you could correct to reduce the amount of suits placed at the hospital on an annual basis?
Sure, and thank you for the question, Senator Francis Heyliger. The judgment that we described that's outstanding is actually not directly related to patient care. That's a judgment around a construction activity that's very old case.
That's fine.
We do track the types of cases that are filed against the hospital. We have certain cases that are medical malpractice cases. Those have an insurance fund that we participate in, so that covers those outcomes. But we do work internally with our quality and performance team to do assessments and reviews as outlined within the code to look at where there are errors and to make changes to processes where we need to, or equipment or communication and other things. Staffing sometimes is part of that, to avoid future similar negative outcomes. And so, yes, we're tracking the types of cases, both civil and medical malpractice, and we are working to address the root causes of the medical malpractice claims so we don't have them anymore.
Okay. Yeah. We talked about in your testimony, one of the things that we had a discussion about had to do with the COVID relief funds and the disaster recovery funds. How have you guys utilized any of that in regards to staffing, dealing with the facility? How have you really tapped into the utilization of that?
Sure. So, Senator, at the beginning of COVID and when COVID was starting to grow, we recognized that as the only hospital in our community, we're going to have to prepare ourselves to treat that condition. And so we have expanded our patient care spaces within our hospital to accommodate now a highly infectious disease unit. And on that unit, we put in negative pressure rooms, and we put in a whole host of other facilities, improvements to make that area safe to take care of patients. So that's one way that we spent some of the COVID money that came. Additionally, we get some support of PAFFord personnel through the Department of Health to support the COVID activities, as well as now we're seeking some of our own reimbursement for the money we expended related to COVID.
Well, speaking on reimbursement, I knew during the COVID era, they had reimbursements that had been increased 7 to 9 times. Did you guys take advantage of that in trying to schedule specific surgeries during that time period? Because I think the window closed, September of last year.
Yes, Senator. So
what did you guys do to maximize that 7 to 9 time payout?
So we did our best to maximize the funds that were available through COVID, while still during that time period having to be very sensitive about the types of cases we did and the number of cases we did to limit exposure also to our team. So cases were done through very careful case selection during that period, but we continued to operate the entire period.
Okay, excellent. I wanted to touch a little bit, with dealing with, I think I read an article and they were talking about the morgues in the territory. What's really happening with that? Because, you hear a lot of conversations, and I'm more about dealing with going straight to the source than hearing things outside. What's really going on with that?
Sure, and I appreciate that approach. I heard some of the same stories that you did and read some of the news reports that were on the morgue situation in the territory. Most of that discussion is really centered around the conditions and situation in St. Croix. On St. Thomas, at Shannon Regional, we have a functioning morgue, and I believe the Department of Justice also has a functioning morgue here in this district. So in this district, we don't have some of the situations and conditions that were reported in those articles that you're referring to.
Well, I am very happy to hear that. I think for me, several years ago, when my brother was murdered, there was a major issue with the morgues, and I literally sped through and got him buried in a week because I was very concerned about what was happening at the hospital. So it's good to hear that those have been improved, and to the point that it's not really an issue now in this district.
Thank you, and my condolences for your loss.
Thank you. When it comes to the nurses and dealing with the traveling nurses and, coming up with the close of this contract, it's almost, I feel a little bit uneasy because I know we need the help, but if I was in the hospital and I'm making $30 an hour and the person next to me is making $200 an hour doing the exact same thing, that would deflate my entire spirit.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that, and what are you guys seriously doing in regards to the reduction of utilizing of some of these temporary situations? And I know you guys are talking about tapping into having a standard fee and increasing, but what is the normal time frame you think that could actually come about? And do you think that would be enough to really retain and really recruit nurses to the hospitals here in the territory, even specifically at Snyder Regional?
Yes, Senator. So I think that we are working really expeditiously now at this point to get to the table, and I think get the new salary rates agreed to with the unions. We want to be aggressive in our number. We don't want to undercut our permanent nurses. We appreciate and definitely highly value our permanent nurses. We know it's been hard for them to see what others are getting. I don't know that it's 200 versus 30, but it might be 30 versus 45. But they also have housing.
I just tossed out a number.
Time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have to do better by our local nurses, and this team is committed to doing that. I think once we do fix the rates, and hopefully those become effective October 1 of the next fiscal year, we will have a good package at that point with the raises and the retention bonuses to go out there and successfully use our new branding and our new advertising to really reach people and encourage them to join our team. I think we have a great hospital. We have a good team. It's a nice place to work. It's a nice place to live. We just have to be competitive and recognize the true cost of living.
Mr. Chair, may I ask my final question?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I really wanted to know, earlier when I was listening to the testimony, you spoke about dealing with claims and delay of crossover, et cetera. What do you think is the major issue that happens with that, and why?
I think mostly with that specific situation, there's a IT technical failure, let's say, between our system, our claims processing system, and the claims receiving system. And so how we're working through that while we fix the IT connectivity is doing, unfortunately, a manual spreadsheet type process where we still need to get paid for those claims. And so we're doing what we can do to still go after them while we fix the IT connection in the background. And I think we continue to strengthen that relationship with the payers. It will get better over time.
And do you think financial-wise, do you think it's an issue of getting additional funding to make sure that your IT is up to par, or do you think everything is okay, or it's just human technical errors?
I think it's more system error than human error.
Okay.
I think additional funds definitely help us advance our IT projects across the board. And I think it's fixable, and we're going to continue to work to fix it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the additional time.
Thank you.